Well, hello, my paranormal peeps, and welcome back to another Deep Woods Paranormal podcast. My name is Matt Harvey. I am the founder and lead investigator with Deep Woods Paranormal. My wife and I, along with others, investigate everything paranormal in nature. Every week, we will discuss everything from creepy haunted locations to ghosts to Bigfoot, UFOs, Dogman, and other cryptid creatures, and explore all things paranormal in nature. Hey guys, so welcome back to the podcast. I just want to say thanks to all of our new followers on YouTube and all our new subscribers to our audio podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening and sharing our podcasts. And if you're on a YouTube page, thank you guys for also liking, sharing, and commenting. We really appreciate the comments. It's really fun to hear that people that are local to our area are seeing us drive around in our truck and stuff like that. We were on our way to a jail investigation last night and had some people wave at us, which was fun. So yeah, if you happen to see us and you want to stop and say hello or whatever, feel free to come up and say hi. We always love to talk to people and stuff like that. So let's get into what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to go back over Black Star Canyon. We have so many new followers, so many new listeners that we talked about Black Star Canyon a lot when we first started, and we've kind of gone away from that. We're almost at 200 episodes. So I know that's not a lot for a lot of podcasters, but I do this as a hobby once or twice a week sometimes. I used to do it up to 4 or 5 times a week. And I noticed that we do a podcast, we get like 100 views. We do another podcast, we get another 100 views. And then the people would fall off in between. So people weren't getting to listen to the old podcast because they were going to the new one first. So I try and give about a week or so in between the podcasts. And I want to make sure that I'm bringing you guys fresh content every week and trying to tell you new things or revamping things, going back over things that may have talked about in the past, but it's usually from a long, long time ago. So again, Black Star Canyon. And the reason I'm going to talk about this is people ask me a lot of the same questions. What was your first encounter? Did you believe in Bigfoots? Why is it a good location? And that's a good one. That's what we're going to kind of focus in a little bit on tonight is why is it a good location? How many encounters did I have? What was your favorite encounter? And then I'm going to share some old pictures and some video that maybe you haven't seen. So let's get into this. Let me show you Black Star Canyon on a map here. So Black Star Canyon's out here in Orange County-ish. North, you have the Anaheim, Los Angeles area. If you go east, you kind of have the Riverside area. And then if you go southeast, essentially you have San Diego area. So it kind of gives you your bearings. It's kind of in between Los Angeles and San Diego. Now, San Diego has its own desert squatch. Riverside doesn't have a lot of reportings besides the San Bernardino National Forest. There are Bigfoot reports up in Big Bear and stuff like that. The Angeles National Forest also has its own Bigfoot reports. And then as you go north, there's more. So this is an area where there was a lot of reports. When I first started doing my research into Black Star Canyon, I started doing Google searches for Bigfoot sightings in Orange County. And I found Laguna Beach. I found Irvine. I found Long Beach. I found San Clemente. I found Riverside. And then I found San Bernardino. I found all these places, even in Black Star Canyon. There were some old reports. There was some guys that used to come up here back in the 70s, I guess. And they had some crazy encounters with Bigfoots. They got chased out, had their car shaken back and forth with multiple Bigfoots shaking their car back and forth and stuff like that. I don't remember their names. Now, bear with me, those reports are gone. I can't find them anymore. I did bookmark them. I went to try and find them, and they've been removed. So I don't know what's going on with that. It seems like for some reason, anytime you get any good information about Bigfoot, it doesn't last too long. And it gets taken down or it gets moved or something happens. It's strange. The whole Bigfoot thing is the more I do the research, the more questions I have, the more more I wonder what's really going on and how much Big Brother really knows and how much they're controlling the content that gets put out about these things. So I don't want to get into it too much, just because I don't want to get my channel flagged or like I had before when I used to research Black Star Canyon all the time and post my videos from there. We had 40,000 subscribers, and one night I posted a video of something I saw over Orange County, and yeah, next day both my Facebook page and my YouTube page were gone. My computer got hacked, everything got wiped off my computer, and then it got fried. So, not doing that again. And if you've listened to my previous podcasts, you've heard about that. So, sorry to ramble on. Let's get into this. Okay, so Silverado Canyon, Santiago Canyon, Black Star Canyon, Limestone Canyon, Loma Ridge, this whole area, Irvine Regional Park. I don't know if Williams Canyon has anything. Majeska, all these canyons seem to have Bigfoot reports. And so let me start with my very first encounter because actually I can actually drop a pin down where I had this first encounter. So let me take you guys down there. Okay, so just bear with me. Let me find where this pen should go because last time I tried to do this podcast, I wasn't actually able to put it in the right spot. So nope, I guess he's not going to go there. Let's try putting him here. No? Now all of a sudden I can't put a pen here. That's really strange. Why all of a sudden can't I put a pen down? What I'm trying to do is drop this little guy for you guys. Wow. Okay. So now they've made it so you can't drop it. That's really interesting. Okay, hold on. Maybe I'm in the wrong place. Maybe I'm in the wrong place. Okay, that's the gate. Is this the gate? No, maybe I'm too far up. Black Star Canyon. Bear with me, guys. I might have been too far up. Okay, let's find the gate. Where's the Black Star Gate? There's the Black Star Gate. Okay. I'm sorry. I was about a quarter mile up too far. Okay, so let's zoom back in. So if you're watching this podcast, I apologize. I'm just trying to get the right spot here. Okay, so I should be able to drop him right about here. Yes, this is it. This is pretty damn close. Nope, I'm a little far away. Okay, so let's pull him up. Okay, this actually gives you a pretty good view of where we were. All right, so if you're watching the podcast, you'll be able to see this. If you're not watching the podcast, you're welcome to come over here and to go to our YouTube channel or a Rumble channel, and the links are down below. And you can go to this point in the podcast and see if you can find it. I don't know what the number is yet because I've not edited this. Okay, so let's take a look. Let's see if we can zoom in here. Okay. So it was Halloween night. I think it was 20, I want to say it was 2013 or 2014. No, it was longer than that. I think it was like 2010 or 2011. It's been about 14 years since I had my first sighting. Anyways, so we were sitting here and I was doing a ghost tour. And I was essentially talking to the group I had in front of me. And I was explaining the rules, my safety rules, and all this stuff. I had about 30 people on that tour, believe it or not. And they were horseshoed around the back of my car. And if you don't know, this is a road. I was parked here, so I didn't want anybody out on the road because people do drive by. But I was parked here, and basically we had people come out from the road all the way over to where this barbed wire fence was. And a couple of the girls that were standing next to the fence were saying that people were throwing rocks at them. And so I'm like, okay, that's interesting. It's probably just some teenager over there having fun, trying to scare us. And I didn't chalk it up to anything. I didn't believe in Bigfoots at this point in time. So, and I didn't know very much about them either. I didn't know the behaviors that they do regularly and stuff like that. And I'll get into those behaviors in just a second. So I was talking and I'm She goes, well, no, another rock just got thrown at me. So I just kind of rolled my eyes. I'm like, okay, we need to teach these kids a lesson. So I picked out the six biggest guys and we walked right over here on top of this berm. Hey, this thing's having fun with me. And we stood right at the barbed wire fence. Now I started, basically, we were a little bit further to the right and I started scanning these trees because I figured that if there was kids out there, they'd be standing out in these trees, and I wanted to see if they were just standing there on the other side of the fence. And by the way, this side of the fence is a no go zone. You will get in trouble if you get caught over there. But I started scanning from this direction over. I got to these trees about in the middle here, and this thing was actually standing right about here. This tree here is actually really grown in. It wasn't actually originally there. It was a small little tiny bush at that point in time. This is a long time ago. And this is the tree I believe that it was standing in front of. There was this tree that was just standing right in front of it. It was standing right in the clearing. And I shined my miner's light on it, and it was dusk. So it wasn't dark, it wasn't light. It was just standing there. And it was silvery gray and it was massive. I'm 6'2" and I'm about 300 pounds. And this thing's arms were as big as I am. I mean, that's how big the arms were. I mean, imagine, I'm this wide. So I don't know if you get a good representation, maybe about almost a foot and a half wide. So it was just standing there staring at us. And I'm like, what the hell? And I don't know how long the staring contest went on with me staring at it and it staring at us. And I think finally one of the guys that was standing with me walks over and he helped me put my jaw back up in my mouth. And he goes, Matt, you see that, right? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, you have a camera? And so I wasn't thinking. I carried a kit with me, right? I carried a little Sony hand cam with a little bit of IR, not enough to brighten up this whole spot. But I also carried a K2 meter, an audio recorder, and I carried a little Coolpix, Nikon Coolpix. And so, of course, I picked the wrong one. I should have picked a video camera, but I ran and got that, right? I got the Coolpix out, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to get a picture of this thing. I come running back, and it's probably about 30 seconds later. And I'm like, is it still there? And they're like, yeah, it's still standing in the same place. So I shine my miner's light on it again, and I'm spotlighting this thing with my miner's light. And I flip a little tiny flash up. And this flash is only meant to take a picture 5 or 6 feet away. This has got to be 25, 30 feet away from us. And so I snapped the picture, and the flash went off. And this creature's face, I mean, the thing had a head like a giant watermelon. Just imagine watermelon 3 or 4 times the normal size. That's how big this damn thing's head was. And it just grimaced at us. And then it growled. I'm like, oh crap. So being the smart guy I was, I looked down and tried to check to see how the picture came out, and it didn't come out. So I switched the settings to more of a night setting and then essentially took another picture. And I'm sure this thing was loving that. And it just grimaced and growled again and essentially just stood there. And so we were watching this thing stand there and we were just having a staring contest with it. And finally I said out loud, doesn't it know we can see it? And it literally walked over this way. I don't know if you can see it now. There's a tree here. Let me see if I can scoot this. Let me see if I can scoot this other way. All right, let me see if I can zoom in on this better. I'm pretty sure it was this tree. No, there's another tree over here somewhere. Let me see if I can come this way. Let's see if I find that tree. Oh yeah, there it is. That's the tree. So it walked in behind this tree right here. This one that's standing straight up, right? And this thing was only about half as tall as it is now. And it grabs the tree with both hands. And we're like, what the hell? It looks like a toothpick. I mean, this thing looked like, if I took a walking stick and put my hands around it, around the neck of this thing. And this thing is, the about where the chest is like at the top of the tree. This tree was 12 feet tall. We went and measured it with a measuring tape. We verified how tall that tree was. and this thing was two plus feet taller than it. And it's so wide. It had to be 5 or 6 feet wide. This thing was so wide. If I laid down on the ground, that's how wide this thing was. And so we're sitting there watching it, and it's like it just it just stood there. And then I said, "We can still see you." And it growled. And at the point in time where it walked over there, you couldn't hear anything. There was no noise. Didn't make any noise walking over there. It took about 3 or 4 steps for it to get over there. And I think it thought if it just walked over behind the trees, it would just disappear. And it didn't. It just looked more like a Bigfoot. And so essentially then it walks off here over here behind this, and it stomped. It went boom, boom. And when it walked, it shook the ground. It literally felt like an earthquake. So I apologize, just knocked the mic. If you guys are hearing some do 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 do, that's probably from me knocking you guys around. I apologize. Didn't mean to beat you up. So essentially it walks over here behind this stuff, and it's grunting and growling, and it's sounding pissed. So after that, I don't know. I was like a kid in a candy store. When people see Bigfoots, they have a couple different reactions. My reaction was first shock. The second reaction was, oh my gosh, it's real. The third is, oh my gosh, it's real. So I essentially went on the tour with like a crew, and we were doing ghost hunting. Excuse me. We were doing ghost hunting, and we walked up and had a great time, came back. And in fact, I went to another location with that group. They invited me to another location, and we had a good time with that as well. About a year later. So, but yeah, so after that, I'm like, okay, what in the world? Um, so let me zoom back out of here. Okay, so that was my first sighting. And so let me explain why I feel like the not just Black Star Canyon, but this whole area is a very good location. Number one, Black Star Canyon is a nature preserve. There are, you're not allowed to hunt up there. So there's wild deer, there's all abundance of food. And if you come back over here, you got Irvine Lake. And essentially, you have two little rivers that come down here. You have the Santa Ana River that comes down here into Irvine Lake, and then you have another creek that, when it actually does rain in California, it runs along here, runs right along the actual right here, runs right along the path of where we do our tours, or where we used to walk. So it runs all through here, and then basically runs out into, of course, Irvine Lake. And then when we used to walk up here, I think it's, let's see, if this is so zoomed out that you can't see. So here's the gate. Where's the gate? Yeah, it's over here. Okay, so this is the other portion of the river. So I think what was happening was they were roaming around this whole area. I used to go up into Silverado Canyon as well, and go up there, and there was weird things happening. I mean, that had a high elevation. There was pine trees, a lot more trees, a lot more less people. People would ride on the path, but essentially the Bigfoots had the advantage because you couldn't see them. They were up high. But I think they roam these canyons just because it's safe for them. And it's a good area for them to be. I believe this might be a breeding area. And when we talk about Joe's, we'll talk about that as well. If you can see, I mean, if you look at this area, you can see city all around, right? You got Orange County, you got Riverside, and then this goes all the way down into San Clemente and stuff, and then you get down into San Diego. But if you're looking at Black Star Canyon itself and just this area, you do have you have the 91 freeway that comes through here, and then you have the Ortega Highway that runs through down here as well. So this is the Ortega Highway, the 74 that comes into San Juan Capistrano. But these mountain ranges are pretty open, and there's not a lot of people out there. It's very secluded. There are homes here and there, but they're few and far between. and there's not like a huge living community out there. So again, water source. You have ways for them. What they used to do is they used to use these little dried riverbeds to essentially walk through and sneak around people. You could honestly walk down in these riverbeds, and especially when you came back up here, when you went up around these corners and up into where the Cleveland National Forest is. And let me see if I can find those mines, those old mines. Where are they? Sorry, guys, this is just hard to see. Let me go back to the gate here. So this is a private road. It says private road, but it's not really private. You can go out there during the day if you want to. Actually, no, I'm sorry, that is a private road. So this way, going this way. Okay, so let's go this way. Here, here's one of the mines. This is one of the old mines up here. Now this has elevation to it. Let me see if I can switch this to terrain. So you kind of see the terrain a little bit better. So here's Black Star Canyon. Here's about where the gate is. And you come around the corner, you can see how the terrain goes up, how terrainy this is, how mountainous this is. It's not a place that a lot of people go out to and want to, camp or whatever. There are no campgrounds out there besides what's at Irvine Lake that I know of. There could be some on the back end here, but there's not a whole lot of people out here. I mean, people come out here to hike and stuff. I really prefer this one because I can see it better. But the more I did the research, so I mean, if you follow this, they essentially were coming down up into these mountains, and if you look up here, you can see the old roads, the old fire access roads. I got to hike on a few of these. There's more. There's a lot more up here. You just can't see them very well. But I got a chance to hike up here a lot during nature preserve days, where with the nature preserve company, and we had days where we could go pretty much free hike anywhere we wanted to in the canyon, as long as we were following the rules and not getting in trouble and whatever else. So I hiked up here into Baker Canyon, which is just right next to Black Star Canyon. And if you go up here, what's cool about these little access roads up here is that essentially, I'm sorry, I'm going the wrong way. This is what happens when you do an impromptu Bigfoot research podcast. All right, so you can come up here and you come up here into the Baker Canyon area, and then you can hike these roads up into these roads. And what's cool about these roads is if you keep following them around, you can see this whole hiking path. This has a lot of elevation up here. So you can essentially be up on these high points and you can see everything going on below you. And nobody would ever know you're there. And nobody goes up into these roads unless there's a fire or they're doing maintenance up there. It's very secluded. It would be easy for them to just walk along these roads and not get seen or heard or whatever. They could hunt deer or whatever. During one of my hikes up there, let me stop sharing my screen for a second because I want to make sure you guys can see this fully. I found this, and I don't know if you can see it very well. There you go. I found this huge hair sample. Now that's silvery gray. And I don't know if you look at this side, there's more of a clump. Let me see if I can block out some of that light. So there's more of a clump in here. Now, I don't know if this is Bigfoot. I don't know if there's some kind of DNA still in it. It had poured rain the night before. And essentially, I was up in the Baker Canyon area, and I was up on one of those fire access roads, and I found a footprint. I found a spot where for whatever reason, the ground let go, and essentially a heel had stuck in to a hole, and then the front part had toes, and then right in front of this is where I found this. So I don't know if maybe it scraped some skin and hair off while it was walking along that road. Maybe it got caught by a rock or something when it stepped in that hole. I don't know what happened, but I was able to find that sample. So I took a plastic bag, not this one. I found another, I had another clean plastic bag that I put my hand into, and I carefully reached down, picked this up, and dumped it in here. So I've had this for, God, 9 years, 8 years. I've never unfortunately had it tested, but I'm very interested to see if it's possibly Bigfoot related. Now I've got the microscope. You'll sooner or later we're gonna get this room rearranged, like I keep saying, and you'll see everything behind me probably. I think that shelf, that bookshelf, might actually go over here. You'll have the haunted dolls on here and everything. Oop. And so you'll get to see what I'm working on. But also, when I was hiking up there one night with a group, um, we had my very first, I think my very, very first sighting of Bigfoot. Let me retract here for a second. We were walking into Black Star Canyon. We'd never been there before, right? We had heard all the stories. Oh, it's haunted. Oh, it's negative. Oh, it's bad. You don't want to go up there alone at night. People get murdered up there all the time, which isn't true. All kinds of bad publicity about it, right? And I think a lot of the reason they do that is to kind of keep they were trying to scare the teenagers out of the area. They didn't want the teenagers going up there at night. Because I mean the teenagers do cause problems. And back in that time, there actually were people that actually did live in the canyons, and I felt bad for them because they had to deal with people doing stupid things. I had a very good conversation with them one night. Finally, they had driven by me multiple times over the years, and she finally stopped and she said, "You're up here all the time." And we had started having a conversation. I was like, "Yeah, I'm doing ghost hunting, and I think there's some Bigfoot activity up here." And she just kind of went quiet and went, have you seen one?" And she didn't really tell me. She didn't want to talk about it. She was really irritated with the kids that were being stupid and stuff like that. I'm like, I'm not one of those kids. I'm not here to be loud and obnoxious and stuff like that. I'm here to do research and to try and document these things and stuff like that. And she was very, I think she was very Christian. So she's like, "That's fine. God bless you, and you're it's okay for you to be up here. We won't bother you anymore if we see you, and we appreciate you being respectful and being quiet as you come by and stuff like that." So, able to turn a bad situation into a good situation. Okay, so again, I was up there one night, and we had just gotten, I don't know, we were about maybe a quarter mile past the entrance where the gate is. And the very first night we had been ever gone up there, I went up there with my old group, the California Ghost Hunters. We had about 8 people, and this is back when the ghosts were severely active up there, really, really active. Almost every time we went up there, we had weird stuff happen. And our voices, we saw shadow people, we had footsteps in the gravel, and stuff like that. So we were walking down the path, and essentially we come across what looks like a giant shadow person on the left side of the road. Now, Black Star Canyon, let me go back to sharing my screen with you real quick because this will be a little easier for you guys to see. Let me see if I can go down to where the gate is and drop a pin. It's actually way back here. Here's where the gate is. So maybe I can drop this little guy back in here. There we go. So you can see at this point it's a two lane highway, but essentially the further up you get, the more narrow this road kind of gets. It's actually kind of a single lane highway now. So like a fire truck, it's wide enough for a fire truck and stuff get through. It actually was closed down, I think in the 70s or 60s or 70s when Ortega Highway finally went through, and then the Riverside Highway went through, the 91 went through, and because it was just such a dangerous road. There was multiple accidents up here and stuff like that. And so we were hiking up the road, and we were way down towards where you kind of see those hills in the background. And essentially we were hearing things, and so we stopped, and then we looked up, and we kept seeing this shadow person. I'm like, that's the tallest shadow person I've ever seen. And then it knelt down, and it was probably at my height, 6 foot plus, squatted down, and it was on this side of the road not here, down about a quarter of a mile down. And essentially it was just standing there. And we were about 20 or 30 feet from it. And we're like, okay, well, that's an interesting looking shadow person. So then basically it stood up and then it was about 2 or 3 feet off the road, right? It stepped into the middle of the road and then stepped to the other side of the road about 2 or 3 feet off the road and then walked in behind a tree down the road, um, but down further down the path. And we just chalked it up to being, because I didn't believe in Bigfoot at that point in time. We chalked that up to being just some kind of the tallest shadow person we'd ever seen, a 12-foot shadow person. And so now that I look back at it, I go, okay, that could have probably been a Bigfoot. It was hunkered down on this side of the road, probably watching us. And as we got closer, it decided, okay, I've had enough. They're getting closer. They're going to see me. I'm going to walk out of the way. Now I know where it went behind that tree, goes up. I can kind of show you. Let me get back out of here. So let me show you exactly where this happened. Let me go out just a little because it's too far. So we were down about here. This is actually the tree. So it was standing on this side of the road and it basically walked in behind these trees. There's a couple big trees here, big oak trees. And it walked in here and just disappeared. So we chalked it up as a shadow person. But if you come up here, you can follow a path. There's a path that actually goes up and winds its way around up to the top of the hill over here. It's a part of the far access road, and you can actually stand there and look. This does not do this justice, but there's a huge hill here. There's about a 40-foot gain, maybe 50-foot gain that looks over this area all the way. This is all mountains right here, all the way around. And essentially it just goes up higher and higher and higher. But there's a lookout area up here. I've never been up there, but basically you can stand there and look down on this area. Again, I think that's basically what it did. I think it went up here and walked up onto the path and then disappeared. So I'm pretty sure that's what happened. And so I was like, okay, that's interesting. But the area where it was first seen right here, this is like a sandy, soily area. Again, you have, if you come over here, you've got the little river that comes across. And I'm pretty sure they use this area also as a walking area. A Bigfoot could walk across this area and you probably wouldn't hear them, see them. They probably wouldn't leave much of a print of any because the ground's pretty dry and pretty tough. And you wouldn't even know they're there unless you're looking for them, unless you know what you're looking for and you're very in tune to what's going on. But anyway, so we found an 18-inch footprint right about here in this area. And this is the print. Let me stop sharing my screen again. This is the print. It's really hard to see, but there's let's see. This is the weird toe here. So you got toe, and then these are the last two toes. This is like the big toe. This is a second in line toe. And this is like a thumb. It almost looks like this. So if I put my fingers out, you'd have let's see, big toe, I'm sorry, second toe, third toe, and then you have this like thumb-like thing. And that's pretty much what this area is here. This area right here is like a thumb-like thing. Where's the toe? So toe, there's a weird like toe like that sticks out like a thumb almost. So you have toe, and like a weird like thumb thing, and this is the part of the ball of the foot here. So it's not a great cast. It was all in one piece. It looked a lot better when it's all in one piece. I left the plaster casting there for 3 hours. And basically what happened was it was 80 some odd degrees when we got there. And Black Star Canyon is famous for temperature changes. 1 minute it could be 30 degrees, the next minute it's like 60, 70 degrees. Up in the Santa Mountains, it just has its own climate up there. So anyways, this night it was about 80, and within an hour it dropped down to like 50 or 60. We were freezing. We were in shorts and a t-shirt. Nobody had a jacket or anything. We weren't thinking it was going to get that cold after dark. It wasn't supposed to get that cold. but the temperature just dropped like a rock. And so we had to leave it, and we continued on with the tour. We came back about 2 hours later, and I went like this to it. If this is the back of it, where you're seeing the casting, this is all I could see is this white. And imagine it down, way down, like here, about 18 inches deep, and it was just kind of a blob. And I went, oh yeah, yeah, it's solid, it's solid. Okay, great. And then I couldn't get it out of the ground. I'm like, oh wait, it won't come up. So I had to take I tried a few different things. I tried a screwdriver, tried to get a screwdriver on here, and I kind of started prying it up. And then I took my knife and cut around. You can still see some of the grass that was in there, in here. I don't know if you can see it with all there we go. So you can see the grass and stuff still kind of pieces in here like this. Um, Anyways, I was trying to pry it up, and it didn't pour very thick. It only poured, if you can see this, it's really thin. It's not very thick at all. It's very thin. It's maybe at its thickest, maybe 3/4 of an inch. But it kind of showed, you can kind of see that the toe prints if you look at it. So again, toe, toe, and then you have this weird, like weird finger like toe over here. But yeah, just a strange print. I mean, the toes were like the size of silver dollars. I did take some pictures of it. It was just very lightly in the dusty sand, and so it just wasn't really a good place to do a casting. Anyways, I should have just done something else. I didn't know much about casting at that point in time, but I went to pry it up, and the damn thing just broke into pieces. So I use dinner plaster now. I don't use plaster casting anymore. I use dental mold, and number one, it dries a hell of a lot faster. And so when you go to pour that, you better be ready to pour, because if you don't, it'll dry on you in 10-15 minutes solid. Dries solid in like 10-15 minutes. This takes forever, especially if the temperature changes. Okay. So yeah, let's see. Let's do some other stuff. So Black Star Canyon, let me go back in here. So yeah, just an interesting area. This whole area is very strange to me. It's just a canyon. Why would they be coming down in this canyon? I think they were using the rivers to and the other fire access roads to essentially get down to the lake, get down and chase food. A lot of coyotes in this area, and we do have a recording of a Bigfoot call. There was a lot of coyotes going nuts one night, and so we were standing at the gate area, and it kept blasting out one call after another of Bigfoots. Every time the coyotes would call out, I'd do a blast a Bigfoot call, and I was using my audio recorder to blast the Bigfoot calls. I downloaded them onto the audio recorder. I was using my phone because it had a better speaker and receiver to record the responses. And in between, I don't know, this went on for like 40 minutes, and I never thought much of it until I listened back several times, and I'm like, wait, what the hell is that? And you just hear this, and it went on for, I don't know, 10 seconds, 15 seconds. In between, it was very distant. I believe that happened over in the Limestone Canyon, or it happened in the Deer Canyon. I think there's something called the Deer Canyon over here too. But anyways, yeah, they came from this area over here. It wasn't in Black Star Canyon, but it echoed through the whole canyon, which was cool. We didn't really hear it with our own ears. All right, so sorry to bother you. I can tell you stories about this stuff all night long. A lot of people ask me a lot of questions about Black Star Canyon, and unfortunately, because I'm not there anymore, I can't really go show people where I had all my encounters. But I can tell you that my Black Star Canyon, let's see, where did Black Star Canyon go? There it is. Okay. I had encounters everywhere from Baker Canyon all the way up to where it kind of turns into the Cleveland National Forest up in this area up here. And so a lot of the times I had encounters when along where basically it's right next to where the mine is in the side of the hill up here. as you're walking up towards the Cleveland National Forest. And we had a time where we were looking down here over, I think we were somewhere in here, and there's a clearing down here. You can see the creek. Might have been right about here. This is not as green as it looks. So this is actually a mine in the side of a hill. I would recommend you guys do not go into these mines or try and get into these mines. They're full of methane gas. You pretty much can die for going into these. So just FYI. So we were sitting here and I saw movement and we saw 5 or 6 Bigfoots basically sitting in a semicircle. Just, I don't know, they weren't really talking or anything. They were just kind of sitting there and moving their hands around. And then 2 of them got up and walked this way, up this creek. So I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I know that they're using the creek as a way to get through here because I'd seen them. And so I used to cruise down here and try and see if I could see them or find prints or whatever. In fact, I found a lot of trees that were up 13, 14, 15, 16 feet tall just snapped off like they'd been just. And now there's a lot of wind that comes through the canyons. Okay. I know that. But this thing had literally just been snapped and twisted and just was hanging there. I mean, it looked like somebody just went, snapped it this way and just yanked it straight down. And there was a lot of trees over here along the creek line, along the creek bed that were like that. You could see it from up above. And so essentially then there was times where we'd be walking up the hill and you get rocks being thrown from this other side of the creek over here and stuff like that. And then my last encounter with them basically started up here in the area where the mine is. It's an area where basically it's right here. It's where the trees grow over. I call it where the trees grow over. I'm pretty sure there was a person hung from one of the trees from the stories I've heard. And essentially this bush down here by the creek started just like going back and forth and back and forth. And before that, I kept hearing like a growl come from over here. I just thought it was a mountain lion or something. And so I was keeping my eye open on here, and I was actually doing an EVP session over here doing ghost hunting. I wasn't even out looking for Bigfoots, but I knew they were there. So bless you. That was one of the cats. So I'm standing at the fence line over here, and I start to see a bush going back and forth. And as this bush is going back and forth, this thing starts grunting. I'm like, what the hell? And I did it for 30 or 40 seconds. I had the video camera on. I had my little Sony hand cam with a bunch of IR lights stacked on top of each other. And these IR lights were not bright enough to see anything but me. I could only see like 5, 6 feet away. This thing was probably about 10 or so feet away. And it was down in this creek, just pushing this, rocking this bush back and forth. And then it just took off up the creek. It literally turned and ran up this area. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I got a Bigfoot on camera. I'm so excited. I'm going to go home, review this footage. So I start walking back down the path. And I got to right about here, actually. No, it was up further. Got to right here. There's a spot where the hill kind of comes sloping down between where the path is or the road is and stuff. It's about 2 feet, 3 feet off the ground. And I was walking real close to that because I didn't want to be over here next to the creek. I just felt creeped out for some reason, for good reason, actually. And as I come around the corner, I'm walking by and let me stop sharing the screen. I literally, out of the corner of my eye, see a big black thing to my left. And I went, oh crap. I didn't say anything out loud. I just went, oh, and it was a Bigfoot. It was crouched down, and it was let me explain that, because some of the people don't know. There was 2 Bigfoots up there that I called the bouncers. They were juveniles. They were young juvenile Bigfoots. They were maybe 3 or 4 years old, maybe a little older. But they were almost as wide. They were probably 4 or 5 feet wide, maybe even wider than that. And they were only like 7 or 8 feet tall. So I called them the bouncers. Big burly chests. They're big brown Bigfoots. And I think there was twins. Now I know there was twins, or maybe there was multiples that are all very closely related that all looked very similar. And so I'm walking down, and then all I see was like two red eyes. I kind of glanced this way, and I'm like, oh crap. The red eyes were what caught my attention because it wasn't moving. It was just this black silhouette. I went, oh my gosh. And so my heart starts beating like a million miles an hour. It freaked me out. And I mean, I was literally like inches away from this thing. I mean, I could have reached out and touched this thing. I honestly now I don't know what I would have done if I had reached out and grabbed it, but I probably wouldn't be here right now. I'm pretty glad that it didn't reach out and touch me because I don't think I'd be here right now. But I just kept walking. I'm like, if I just keep walking, maybe it didn't notice that I noticed it. Maybe it'll just ignore me. And so I took about 5 or 6 steps and I'm like, no, I got to turn around. I got to look. I just turned off my video camera and just turned off my audio recorder. And so I quickly pull the video camera back out, flip the screen back open, hit the record button, turn on. It's gone. There was no noise, just gone. And I'm like, what in the world? How the hell that happened? And it just gone. It was just gone. I'm like, what happened here? And so I'm like, okay, that was strange. I'm like, I need to get out of here now. I just felt like I was honestly scared. I was really scared. I'm like, holy crap. I mean, that thing could have grabbed me and killed me without any issue. When nobody would have known what happened. My body could have never been found. So I was about a mile and a half from my car, and I start walking down. And as I started walking forward, I start hearing boom, crack. And it sounded like a freaking bulldozer was going through the brush above me. And there must have been multiple Bigfoots. And that happened from, let me share my screen again with you. So that happened from about here, just below where the gate was, all the way down, basically till I got around this bend. And then I could hear them up here, up on that mountain, that bluff I was talking about, about 50, 60 feet up. And then this area is kind of like a big open area, but I could see them. There's trees up through here. There's tree line all through here. You can kind of see the darker green. And there's a tree line here. It's really hard to see it, but I could see them moving in the tree line as I was walking down. And I had to go all the way down here, down by Baker Canyon to pick up my car. But I got through the gate and that's when it kind of stopped. They were following me the whole way. They made sure I knew they were there. And after that, I really never honestly felt comfortable in Black Star Canyon. And unfortunately, I did see them. I didn't have any like clear as day or whatever sightings. I used to see some red eyes. I videotaped them. I have old videos from Black Star, which I might try and restart posting back to this channel and let you guys see some of that old footage because I used to get thousands and thousands of views on those old videos. But anyways, yeah, that freaked me out. Uh, I'm pretty sure they were hunting. I think they were out basically hunting for deer or whatever they were hunting for. There is wild fruits and stuff like that out in this area too. So there was food for them all year round. There was deer out there all year round and stuff like that. So I think basically this was an area they liked to be in. I think they like to be here. I think this might be was a safer area for them. I think they like this area not only because of the creeks, but I think they frequented maybe this side. They probably came over onto this side of the Irvine Lake area at night. It's pitch black over here. You wouldn't see them. They come down here, get a drink, take a swim, whatever, eat fish, whatever, and then stuff like that. But I think they roam through all these canyons. I think they roam through this area. And I think they're more drawn to this area because of the lake, to be honest with you, and because of the two rivers that come through and stuff like that, and the ability to stay hidden if they want to. And I don't think they really show themselves that much. It took me from the time I had that first shadow sighting, which I now kind of think might have been a Bigfoot, to the time where I had that first confirmed, I know 100% that couldn't be anything else but a Bigfoot, was about 5 or 6 years. So I think it's like 2009, maybe ish. No, it was earlier than that, 2007 or 8. But yeah, I mean, I think that's why this is such a good area. And I think that basically they just roam through here. I don't think they really care about people that much, to be honest with you. I think if they feel threatened by people, that's when they kind of show themselves, or maybe they're just being playful or they're being curious. I think that you have a lot of juveniles in this area. I've seen them. I know they're there. Um, so somebody asked me, how many encounters have I had at Black Star Canyon? I gotta say, I had, I don't know, probably at least 2 dozen that I can say were definitely Bigfoots. I mean, one of them ran. We were walking back down around the corner where the creek was, and one of them literally ran across the road right in front of us, stepped over the barbed wire fence, and ran down to the creek area. And I had 6 other witnesses that all saw it. We just saw a black blur go by, and it left a footprint. They had just put fresh sand out there, and right next to the barbed wire fence, that it kind of duned up, and this thing squashed it down. And the heel was probably had to be 5, 6 inches wide, and where the heel had pushed down, like the palm of my hand, just left an imprint. And so that was crazy. But yeah, I've had multiple sightings out there. I think the older juvenile, I mean, the older Bigfoots, especially that silvery gray one, was probably watching me the whole time. They've probably been watching me for a long time. Was out there all times of the day and night, and they got used to me. And they saw that I wasn't a threat. I wasn't trying to hurt them in any way. I just started leaving gifts for them and doing knocks on the telephone poles. So, and then I played Bigfoot calls for them all the time. So I think they just got used to me and they were comfortable showing themselves to me until I had that last encounter, which I screwed up. I did something. I crossed the border down to the creek and caught a couple Bigfoots on camera, which I'll show you guys some stuff in a minute. I've shown those pictures before. But for the new people that are watching or listening, you're welcome to come over to the YouTube or Rumble page and subscribe over here, and you can watch or listen to the audio or video podcast here as well. Or you can get it wherever you listen to your podcasts. Deep Woods Paranormal is on like 60, 70, 80 different podcasts worldwide, by the way. And again, like I said last time on the last podcast, thank you guys for all the people that listen to us. It's just amazing that you guys come out and tune in to us like every week. So, anyways, what was your favorite encounter at Black Star? And we're only generally talking about Black Star because I have other stories from other places here in Texas that I can talk about. My favorite story, let me go back in here. Let me go back to the gate. I can kind of show you where I had this encounter. Maybe it'll let me even drop the pin down here. Let me see if I can drop this person back here. Okay, so where these people are walking. All right. Yeah, this is almost perfect, actually. So I was walking out one night. I had just walked out the gate and was walking up. It was probably 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and I just felt like I was being watched. And so I had a flashlight. Look at the pony. Anyways, I had a flashlight that was what, 2000 lumens, 2500 lumens, something like that. It was like a headlight. It was super bright. I think I still have that flashlight somewhere. I don't remember where it is. I'll have to find that. But a super duper bright flashlight. And so I start to shine my light across this area over here. And I kid you not, I get to about, let's see, it walked right through here, about here. And there's something standing up here. And it's not very tall. It's probably about a 6 foot Bigfoot, about my size, my build, 6 foot tall, not real big, like a normal person's size, but it's brown. It's a dark brown color, and it's just standing here in this brush, and it's sitting there staring at me. And then it did the whole Patterson Gimlin film. It literally turned, it did the whole keep and arms up, arms back, stretch out, and then turn the turned the hips, upper torso turned. The head didn't turn, just the upper torso. And it literally looked at me. And it almost stopped in mid stride. And then it kind of looked at me as I'm shining my spotlight on it. And then basically it turned back the other way and just disappeared, walked up here, like out of here. And when I was watching that, I'm going, oh my gosh, it's the Patterson Gimlin film. It was exactly the same exact thing. If you watch the Patterson Gimlin film where you watch Patty turn and do the whole look in mid stride, and then like the upper body torso turns, and then it basically walks off. And it walks off and it walked up into here. I know exactly where it went. It walked up here on behind this, up onto this berm. And if you guys have heard up here, it walked up through here, up onto this berm. And this is what I talk to you guys about all the time. So this is the entrance to the gate. You can see how high this is. This is probably 20 plus feet. And if you come up here and you stand up here and you kind of stand back, it kind of slopes down up there about 3 or 4 feet. So from the very edge, it kind of slopes back. You can stand up there and look down and watch people walk by. They wouldn't even know you were there. So, it's just crazy that they use these. Anyways, let me stop sharing this again. And I will share something else with you guys. Let's share some more pictures from Black Star Canyon. Some of these I've shown you guys, some that you might have seen. A lot of these will be new to most people. So let me start here. Oops. All right. So this is not a Bigfoot or a ghost or anything. It just looks like it. What this is there used to be a lot of old debris and stuff up in the canyon. There used to be an old travel trailer. There used to be an old school bus. Lots of stories about the school bus being haunted and stuff like that. What this is just a silhouette. It's a cutout. And the way the picture was taken, it looks like a shadow person or maybe a Bigfoot, but is really not. So essentially, this is up around that first bend, and you have to go quite a ways up. This is up by where the falls are, and if you ever go up to the falls, just be careful because sometimes when it's pouring rain, you can actually get into a flooding situation up there. The whole canyon floods. I mean, all the way across 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 feet. So, yeah, this is what the canyon kind of looked at like at night. And if you're looking at the pictures, you're going, "What is that?" No, that's not. There's just stars. Essentially, this is what the road looks like at night. This is where it kind of starts to turn to the right here, and just basically brush. This is kind of what it looks like. It's dark. You can see the mountains in the background. Irvine Lake would be off here over to the left and stuff like that. Somebody basically didn't have this on a tripod, and when they took the picture, they may have just slightly moved a tiny little bit or shaken the camera, and that's what happens. It got a good picture, pretty much straightforward. It got this area the most, and then basically the rest of it's all blurry because the camera got moved. So, and then of course there's these guys up there. This is a mountain line. This is not my picture. This looks like it's in the snow. But it does snow up in Black Star Canyon every once in a while. I think the elevation is like 3,500 feet, so it has to be severely cold. But you can see they do monitor them. They do the park rangers up there do have trail cameras everywhere, especially off trail. So if you plan on going off trail, they'll know about you. You'll probably walk by a game camera up there. So just be careful if you're walking up there. Be mindful of your location. There are a lot of wild animals up there and stuff like that. We already looked at this picture. Okay, so here's the entrance to Black Star Canyon. We've already kind of taken a look at this. This is an old picture of me from the Orange County Times. This actually might be the night that I found that footprint. And you can see the dirt is really hard. It's hard. It's kind of a clay mixture with a little bit of sandiness to it. And I'm pointing out a footprint that I found. And this is actually where that shadow person was crouched down and stood up and walked across. But again, this is from, God, that'd be at least 15 years ago. All right, so now this is a better picture of the canyon itself. This gives you a little bit more definition. Here's the walking path. I believe I was up on Baker Canyon when I took this picture. So you can see Irvine Lake in the background. You can see how mountainous it kind of is. It truly is a valley. You can see you can see the river that comes down. This is where I think they're walking through, and you can see how these trees are probably at least 12, 13, 14 feet high. There's the walking path, the fire access road. You can see another fire access road up here. It's just kind of a dirt road. Um, and you can see that the elevation is much higher up here. So you could stand up here and watch people literally walk by if you had night vision or whatever and know that they're coming. So that just kind of gives you, here's another picture of me out at Black Star Canyon. Again, Orange County Register. And then this is the creek area I was talking about. This is where those trees were snapped off. Some of them were snapped off 13, 14 feet high. And you can see this would be in a really easy place for not just a Bigfoot, but anyone to walk along here. It's not all rocky like this. Most of it's just that sandy, dry clay soil, but it's very hard and very compact. So you can walk along there and not leave prints. But it just kind of shows you what it looks like. And then again, I don't know why this picture keeps coming up. Here's the falls up at Black Star Canyon. This is a picture. I'm going to credit them, California, through mylens.com. I just got this offline. Oh, here's the little creepy tree that we used to call the poltergeist tree. Unfortunately, my friend Chris told me it's no longer there, but the last fire unfortunately finally took it. But this is an old oak tree, I believe. And if you've ever seen the movie Poltergeist, where the tree reaches in and grabs the little kid and eats them, pretty much that's what this reminded me of. And it's more creepy at night. This is also a place where we had rocks thrown across the river. This is on the other side of the river as you first come around that trail. And essentially, rocks would be thrown across here. And they'd land above us. They hit the berm, the embankment above us. And they were not small. They would roll down the hill. They were softball size, some were bigger, like football size rocks coming over in a straight line, mind you. And if they would have hit somebody, it would kill them. I mean, it would have killed them or severely injured somebody. So glad that they never did. Here's an old bridge. I don't think this one's still here, but this is where you kind of leave the Black Star Canyon area and go into the Cleveland National Forest area. So anyways, let's keep going. Okay, so here's this picture is actually you can see Black Star Canyon kind of off in the distance. Irvine Lake would be over here somewhere, but this is a picture probably from more of the Cleveland National Forest area and stuff like that. Let me show you where this picture's from. Where do the maps go? Let's go back to here real quick. So let me get out of here. So if we come up here to the Silverado area, this is probably the Silverado area up here. You can actually go up into these mountains. There's you can go through the town of Silverado and then basically it comes up here into this area up here. And essentially it's just very forested, very secluded up here. Again, you get into areas where, there's just nothing here. But Amanda and I used to come up here all the time. We would love to come up here and you had to have a 4x4 and we could take the Bronco and come up in here into this road and it would bring you back down over here into Williams Canyon and then you come down. But yeah, that picture is probably looking this way towards Irvine Lake. But those mountains are probably 5,000-6,000 feet high, more than likely. Okay, let me finish sharing these pictures with you guys. And we'll go from there. So bear with me here. All right. So this is a possible juvenile footprint. You can see the heel, you can see the toes, and then you can see what looks like a mid-dorsal break. There's a little bit of where it will kind of clamp down. Our feet do the same thing. They kind of clamp down, but I think Bigfoots also are able to pull their toes up like this And what that allows them to do is go up the side of almost like a straight hill. There's multiple videos of them walking up the side of a hill that nobody should be able to walk up, carrying deer and stuff like that. So this is an old footprint that I caught. I have a size 13 wide foot. It's very similar in size to mine, but there's nobody behind me, nobody with me up there that night. Or that morning, I mean. And it just rained. Again, you can see the sandy, dry soil that's up there. And whatever stepped here basically came by after me. And there was only one print. I couldn't find any other prints. And it was right in the middle of the road, heading towards the barbed wire fence, towards the creek. So I was like, okay, that's interesting. But again, just very interesting. Let me close that out. Oh, 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 oh. Okay. All right. Let me see if I can pop open a different one. Here we go. I want to go back and show you guys some other pictures that you may not have seen before. Okay. So when I was up at in the Baker Canyon area, this is back around where that bend was again, where that creepy tree was, where the trees kind of are on the one side, and where the rocks came flying over the creek at us. So I took a picture because I was like, what is that old burnt up tree over there? And I didn't realize what it was until I started looking at it. And then I had an old cell phone. This is from a really, really old cell phone. I don't know if this was an iPhone or an I think this was taken on the original HTC phone, but this is not a tree. There's no burned up tree over here. And unfortunately, you can't see it as well anymore. It's pixelated. This is probably like a 5 megapixel picture. This is one of the first camera phones that I ever owned and stuff. But you can see the cone of the head. You can see an arm kind of tucked in like this, and you can see the other arm like this. It's essentially trying to stand kind of sideways. You can see the arm come down. You can kind of see the buttocks and the leg, and you can kind of see the other leg. And then if you look over here, there's another one. You can see the head, and then you can kind of see an eye and a nose and a chin. I was like, what is that? So I just took a picture because I didn't want to miss the opportunity. But you can see it's just standing there. There's no burned up trees over here, or there weren't at this point in time. This was probably taken back in the late 90s or early 2000s, probably. So, yeah, just another possible picture of a Bigfoot. Let me go back even further. All right, so this was taken on a trap cam. This was March 13th of 2014. This is when I figured out this is again that creek area. This is the creek. It's dry right now. It ran dry, and I did something. This is right before I had that one encounter I was telling you guys before, where I crossed the line with them, and I left a trap cam in a place I shouldn't have, and so I left the trap cam down, and I went across to this tree. I could not get the strap around this trap cam, around this eucalyptus tree. That tree, I couldn't even get my arms around it. That thing was so wide. It must have been 3 or 4 feet wide, just sitting there. So I went through all the pictures, and about the same time each day, there was some kind of movement and stuff like that, but I never got anything. So I left it for 3 days. And then around 11 o'clock in the morning, let's see what time this says. Yeah, around 11 o'clock in the morning, I noticed this. So this is the first day, I believe. This is the 13th. So 13th and possibly 14th, or 12th and 13th. Okay, so you kind of see what looks like something here. And as I'm looking at it, you can kind of see there's something up here too, kind of peering around the corner, and you kind of see some fingers. You can kind of see some fingers on the tree, kind of like wrapped around like this. And it's almost like something's just kind of taking a peek at the trap cam. And so I was like, oh crap, I got something. And then if you look up here, back here, there looks like that's probably a shadow. But there was another Bigfoot. People were seeing Bigfoots up in this area. They thought that there was another Bigfoot in this area, and there might be another one here. They were basically walking along this tree line coming down to the creek, I believe. And this is on the side where the Irvine Lake is. And this thing kind of crept down to take a peek at what was going on. So if I go back one picture, I noticed the next day, this is the next day about the same time I got this picture. Now there were videos. Now this is granted, this is a old trap cam. This took a picture about every minute, not every second, once a minute. Now the trap cams take a picture every like tenth of a second or whatever the newer trap cams will be do at least do. And the quality is like 13, 14, 18 megapixels, something like that. This is only 5 megapixels. So it's really hard to zoom in. But this is the same tree, and you see something like it's halfway out. And it's basically standing here looking at the trap cam again. It's curious. You can see a hand down here. You can see it's part of a leg. I believe this is a juvenile Bigfoot. Now, this thing comes all the way over to this other side. So you might not even be seeing the head. This might be the head, or this might be the head. I believe this might be a shoulder and stuff like that. But it's just basically peeking out from behind the tree. There's a video actually. I don't know if it's in this set, but where it's actually standing out in the clearing here, and you can see the hair on the chin blowing in the wind. And again, you see possibly another one here and another one over here. So they came down to check out the trap cam again around 11 o'clock time. So that was basically what I was doing. I was basically figuring out what they were doing, and they have patterns, guys. They do the same thing over and over. They travel the same areas over and over again a lot of the time. They stay in the same areas. I believe the juveniles do have, as they get older, they will go and move on to another group maybe and mate so that there isn't inbreeding or anything like that. But yeah, so that's Black Star Canyon in a nutshell. Um, I don't know why it's such a great place. I think because of the water source and the isolation of it, and the fact that there's a lot of food sources for them, and the fact that they can move around without pretty much being seen by anyone, or very few people. I think that basically that's what happens. And I think they were curious about what I was doing. They were probably curious about the different devices I had and what they were. They probably never seen a K2 or anything like that. And I had lots of different things I did up there. And like I said, if I can have time, I just haven't had time to go through and upload a bunch of videos. But if I have time, I will go ahead and put some of those older videos on this channel. At some point in time, I'm going to sit down and spend a weekend just editing videos and posting all these videos. I got to get caught up. But once we get everything caught up here and get this room rearranged a little bit more and get things situated better, I'll have more time to kind of sit down and do that. But with everything going on in the world, I've been doing other things around the house and trying to get stuff done that I've been putting off for a long time. So this year hasn't gone the way I thought it would. I thought it'd be completely different. I thought we'd be out Bigfoot researching like every weekend, and it just hasn't happened, unfortunately. So, excuse me. But anyways, guys, I appreciate you guys liking and subscribing. Please continue to leave comments. Please be polite with your comments. Again, remember to keep it G rated or PG rated, because we do have younger audiences that do listen to our podcasts and watch our podcasts and watch our shows. So we try and keep it as number one, as unscary as possible. And also we try and keep it as child or young person friendly as possible as well. So again, thank you guys for watching and listening. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. Click that notification bell so you guys don't miss an update, because I don't always get to update these or post these on a normal set schedule. And we also do a lot of other content. We work with other producers and stuff like that to create other content as well. So, but anyways, you guys stay safe and you guys stay haunted, and we will catch you on the next one.